Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's just jump right into this, shall we? Today we're unpacking a story that perfectly captures the massive shifts in American consumerism over the last 50 years or so. Honestly, it feels like it's straight out of a Hollywood dystopian movie, but it is entirely real. We're looking at a single, colossal piece of real estate in Akron, Ohio. This is the fascinating story of the rise, the ruin, and the highly surprising rebirth of Rolling Acres Mall.
So picture this. You're walking through what used to be a glittering palace of commerce, only to find an eerie post-apocalyptic wasteland. That's exactly what photojournalist Seth Lawless encountered when he documented the mall's interior back in the 2010s. His reaction? He said, "The rate of decay is just unbelievable." And that perfectly captures the sheer shock of witnessing a massive community hub that's been completely surrendered to the elements.
I mean, it is really hard to overstate just how far the mighty had fallen here. We aren't just talking about a little dust and a few cobwebs. By 2015, the abandoned mall had essentially become a playground for vandals and scrappers. Storefronts were literally riddled with bullet holes. The majestic glass skylights that used to bathe shoppers in warm sunlight, completely shattered. It allowed the harsh Ohio winter snow to fall directly into the center of the mall.
Section 1. The Grand Vision, Building a Colossus. Let's travel back in time to see its glittering beginnings.
$100 million. That's exactly what it cost to construct Rolling Acres in the early 1970s. Developers Forest City Enterprises and Richard B. Buchholzer didn't just build a shopping center, they built an absolute behemoth that employed more than 1,200 workers just to get the thing off the ground.
Now, the crucial thing to understand is that this wasn't just some corporate whim, it was a massive civic undertaking. The developers chose a massive 260-acre site along Romig Road, and the city of Akron was so confident in this project that they budgeted $1.1 million of public money just for highway and sewer upgrades to handle the massive crowds of shoppers they projected would arrive. You know, everyone was completely all in.
Section 2. The Golden Era, Unparalleled Success. And for a long time, that massive bet really paid off.
The momentum of this project was absolutely unstoppable. The first phase opened in August 1975 with Sears and 21 other stores. Then, boom, just a few months later, in January 1976, a 178,000-square-foot JCPenney opens up. By August, a 3-screen cinema is operating. The following year, Montgomery Ward joins the party. It was this rapid, highly calculated expansion that made the mall the undisputed epicenter of retail for the whole region.
The developers wanted shoppers to feel like they were in a luxurious oasis. The interior design featured this spectacular central area known as the Court of 12 Trees. It was decorated with planters, a beautiful fountain, natural light pouring in from above, and exactly 12 ficus microcarpet trees. You could shop at high-end fashion stores, then take a breather at the elevated food court, originally called Promenade and later famously known as Picnic Place.
This place was the absolute peak of retail dominance. To put it into perspective, we're talking about 1.3 million square feet of gross leasable area. That means the total floor space entirely dedicated to ringing up sales. Rolling Acres became a super regional shopping mall housing over 150 stores and up to 5 massive anchor tenants at a time. It was the largest mall in the entire state of Ohio when it opened, just a true consumer colossus.
Section 3. The Slow Decline. Cracks in the foundation. As we all know, consumer habits and local economies are pretty fickle beasts.
The shift in the mall's financial health was subtle at first, but incredibly telling. Prior to 1991, Rolling Acres utilized off-duty police officers to provide a premium sense of safety for its shoppers. But as financial pressures started mounting, management made a really critical cost-cutting measure. They replaced those officers with cheaper, private security guards. It was a subtle downgrade, sure, but it definitely signaled larger problems brewing behind the scenes. And the whole vibe inside the mall was undeniably changing. In 1991, a highly visceral incident occurred right outside the mall's cinema during a screening of the movie New Jack City. 2 patrons got into a fight, and during all the commotion, a metal sign fell over. The sharp, loud noise was actually mistaken for a gunshot by the crowd, which sent panicked moviegoers fleeing in terror through the mall corridors. This specific anecdote perfectly highlights the growing tension and the shifting perception of safety within those walls.
Section 4. The Apocalyptic Wasteland, Total Abandonment. The slow decline of the 90s sharply dropped off into complete ruin.
The death of this retail giant was an agonizing step-by-step process. In October 2008, the interior of the mall officially shut down for good. But the massive anchor stores, which actually owned their own parcels, hung on for a few more years. Sears finally closed in April 2011, and the very last holdout, the JCPenney outlet, shut its doors on the last day of 2013. The lights were officially out. Okay, this part is like something straight out of a true crime show. The mall's final owners operated with just an absurd level of legal dodging. In 2010, a Delaware-based company called Premier Ventures LLC bought the mall for $3 million. But they never paid their property taxes, racking up over $1 million in tax liens, meaning the government had legal claims against the property. When Summit County tried to foreclose and sell the property at auction to save it, Premier Ventures dodged them by filing a bizarre bankruptcy claim all the way in California. The county literally couldn't even get the owners on the phone. It stalled rescue efforts for years.
Now, you might be wondering, why didn't a standard real estate developer just buy the whole thing and fix it up? Well, it was a total redevelopment trap. Because those massive anchor store parcels were owned separately from the mall interior, a single buyer couldn't easily take over the entire 260 acres. In fact, some of those former anchors were being operated as self-storage facilities and construction warehouses. The site was incredibly fragmented, legally tangled, and virtually impossible to salvage in its current form.
Section 5. An e-commerce rebirth, a brand new reality, because every physical space eventually finds a new purpose.
It really begs a massive question, doesn't it? What kind of force is actually powerful enough to clear a 1.3 million square foot wasteland, overcome a multi-million-dollar legal nightmare, and unify 260 fragmented acres?
Well, the first step was ultimate physical destruction. Between 2016 and 2019, the wrecking ball finally arrived. The city and county eventually took control, and, in stages, the entire structure, from the shattered skylights to the crumbling court of 12 trees, was demolished. It wiped the original rolling acres completely off the map, leaving a massive, blank slate.
And here is the absolute irony of our modern era. Enter Amazon. The very e-commerce giant that played a massive role in killing traditional brick-and-mortar retail became the site's savior. Amazon acquired the remaining parcels and constructed a sprawling, state-of-the-art distribution facility, which is now known as Amazon Fulfillment Center AKC1.
Just look at how completely our culture has shifted. On one hand, 1975, a 1.3 million square foot physical destination where consumers drove their cars, walked past indoor trees, and bought goods in person. On the other, 2019, a massive, hyper-efficient distribution center where robots and workers pack boxes to be shipped directly to consumers' doorsteps. The site is still a massive hub of commerce. The way we consume has just entirely flipped.
So, I want to leave you with one final thought today. As we watch the physical retail spaces of our past crumble and be replaced by the digital distribution centers of tomorrow, what does the future landscape of American consumerism really look like? Next time you drive past a bustling shopping center or maybe even a dead mall in your own town, ask yourself what it might become in 50 years. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning and stay curious.